Alright, we are live, ladies and germs. Yes, I'm finally live after a race. Immediately after a race. Well, not immediately, but same night, at the very least. I'm actually kind of surprised I'm able to do it because after the race I was not feeling very good. I forgot to mute the TV. But, what a divisive race we witnessed here tonight. Like, it's absolute insanity. What's even more insane is what people are saying about this race and the outcome and about certain people in particular. I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words right off the bat, but yeah, needless to say, I think this review is going to divide some people, but you know what? I really don't give a shit because this is my opinion and this is how I honestly feel. So if you're not a fan of what I say or feel, oh well. At least I give it to you straight. But we've obviously got a lot to get into. The championship 4 has been set, obviously. And there's some people, quite a few people, in fact, that are not very happy, to say the least. So grab your popcorn. This is going to be one hell of a review. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Fuel. The final race of the round of 8 to determine who would go to the championship 4 to race for the championship. And tonight we're going to be reviewing the XFinity 500 from the Martinsville Speedway. This is our 121st edition of The Fuel. The title of tonight's episode: Clown Shoes. Because that's what a lot of people were in this race. Nothing but a bunch of clown shoes. Basically, they were acting like clowns. Where do I even begin here? This race was a clusterfuck, to say the least. And not to mention the fact that it was all over the place. And there were some people claiming that this was one of the best races of the year. This was one of the best Martinsville races ever. We'll get to that in a minute. But there isn't really any news stories to talk about this week, as far as I can tell. So we can just focus on the race itself. Not feeling particularly well at the moment, but we're here. We're going to do this review because, quite frankly, this is just too goddamn important to put on the back burner like I have the last couple weeks. But then again, the last couple weeks I've just been super busy. Like last week I had you know, was a vendor at CorksCon, which I'm going to have the video for that soon, eventually. Like I said, I've just been really busy the last couple weeks. Maybe that's why I'm feeling kind of down in the dumps, because I'm just so freaking exhausted. But, yeah, despite my crappy feeling, how crappy I'm feeling at the moment, this race was obviously just too important to put on the back burner like the last couple weeks, because, you know, of all the implications and what happened therein. But first and foremost, let's get to the elephant in the room. Alex Bowman winning his 4th race of 2021. So obviously, the big thing with him is that it seems like every time he wins a race, a track either loses its date or shuts down. So now we're kind of wondering, oh, is Martinsville going to be on the chopping block? Uh-oh. Obviously, I don't think that's going to be the case, because this is a charter track. It has hosted at least one race in every Cup season since the Cup Series debuted in 1949 as the Strictly Stock Series. And Martinsville has been on the schedule ever since. The only track in existence to have that honor. Yeah, I don't think this track is coming off the schedule anytime soon. So this track might be the one to break the Bowman curse, as it were. But admittedly, Bowman's 4th win of 2021 was not without controversy, obviously. Because near the end of this race, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be skipping around a lot, because there's a lot of shit to talk about in regards to this race. But near the end of this race, Bowman and Denny Hamlin were fighting hard for the race lead when Bowman basically cleaned out Hamlin going into turn 3. Kind of similar to what Hamlin did to Chase Elliott 5 years before at the very same venue. Although in this case, it didn't look like Bowman did it intentionally. It looked like he actually tried to get underneath the Hamlin, but went in there a little hot, a little too hot, and got the thing loose, and it pushed up into Hamlin, which in turn ended up spinning Denny Hamlin out. Now, despite the fact that Martinsville is one of Denny Hamlin's home racetracks, the crowd was not exactly on his side, which is kind of interesting to say the least. I mean, if your own hometown fans are against you, that should say a lot about you. Just saying. But, needless to say, this caused quite a bit of controversy, because it's like, man, it just feels like he cleaned out Hamlin. Should he be penalized for it, you know, for rough driving or this, that, and the other? Now, from the looks of it, it did look like he did get loose, and he even said afterwards, I mean, there was even one point where he did kind of nudge him out of the lead, but then he let him back by because he felt like, yeah, that's not really how I want to race. And then, you know, leading up to said contact that sent Hamlin around, Bowman was racing him pretty clean. I mean, if he wanted to dump him, you know, at any point, he could have done it any time before that. You know what I mean? Besides, I don't think Bowman is that kind of driver anyways. I mean, he was able to get, I mean, if that was the case, he would have done the same thing at Richmond earlier this year, when he just absolutely blew by everybody, including Hamlin, and ended up winning the race. So, that's my feeling on that. But Hamlin was not so happy, which I can understand. I mean, he's racing for the win. I mean, at his home racetrack especially, well, one of his home racetracks, Richmond being the other one, because he's a Virginia native. So I can kind of understand being upset, you know, that, you know, it felt like, you know, he got ran over, you know, and all that stuff. What I don't agree with was a couple of things. First off, he basically, you know, because Bowman was getting ready to do his victory celebration, and Hamlin basically went right up to him and went nose to nose with him on the front stretch, flipped him to double bird, basically, you know, was running into him, and it's just like, and even his crew chief was like, calm down, dude, big picture, you know, and all that stuff. So even his crew chief was like, yeah, that's not I understand how you feel, but that's not cool. You know what I mean? But then Hamlin basically obliterated any sort of remorse I might have felt for him with his post-race interview. Which leads to my second headline. Denny Hamlin is a hypocritical bitch. So, here's the gist of what he said in his post-race interview. I'm not going to go through the whole fucking thing, but I am going to basically give you the Cliff Notes version. This is basically what he said about Alex Bowman afterwards. So when he was asked about what happened with Bowman, he was basically like, oh, he's a hack. He said it like 4 times. He's just a hack. He gets his ass beat by his teammates every week, and to be honest, he's fucking terrible. He actually dropped the F-bomb on live television. Of course, there was another F-bomb that was dropped earlier by Truex, I believe, after he got put on the wall by Kurt Busch. So there was a lot of heat coming out of this race from a lot of people. But I look at that statement that he made in that Denny Hamlin made in this interview. He's a hack. He gets his ass beat by his teammates every week, and to be honest, he's fucking terrible. He's a hack, huh? Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't he have more race wins than you? I mean, yeah, you've been screwed out of a lot of wins this year, and I even defended you at the Indianapolis road course race when you got dumped for no reason. And here you just got taken out. I mean, even though it was, you know, unintentional, it was, you know, I don't like seeing it either. So I can understand you being upset, but this is taking it a step too far. Okay? I can understand you being upset about getting dumped by somebody, but this post-race interview is fucking bullshit. Okay? And by the way, if you hear any rocking in the background, that's my washer doing rocking and rolling. But, I mean, to call him a hack, getting his ass beat by his teammates every week, and to be honest, he's fucking terrible. I mean, seriously, dude? I mean, yeah, you're going to the championship 4, but I mean, your attitude leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, this almost feels very similar to Harvick back at Bristol when he did the same fucking shit and got booed out of the building for it. You know, in this case, you're saying he's a hack. I mean, gets his ass beat by his teammates. I mean, is there times where he seems like he's the 4th best Hendrick driver? Yeah, kind of. There are times that, you know, he does lag behind a little bit, but he wouldn't have 4 wins in this season and 6 in his career if he was a hack and if he was fucking terrible like you say. Okay? Obviously, this is you spewing a bunch of bullshit, and it seems like you've forgotten a couple of events that you yourself were a part of in recent years at Martinsville, like the aforementioned Chase Elliott incident, when you dumped him going into turn 3, racing for the lead. And there have been some people online saying, you know, well, that was 5 years ago, man. Or, oh man, there's a lot of salty Hendrick fans and Chase Elliott fans, herpaderpader. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, are you people seriously that fucking brain dead? Like, seriously? What in the actual fuck? Did it ever occur to you, brain dead fucking idiots, that maybe some people just don't fucking like Denny Hamlin? And they're not necessarily fans of Chase Elliott? Did that ever cross your fucking mind? I don't know. This fan base fucking sucks, man. It really does. Some of the dumb shit that I see on social media, it just makes the sport look like a fucking joke. Fucking nonsense! And then you have Hamlin, I remember something that became a meme a couple years ago, the incident between him and Joey Logano, where he basically was like, yeah, that's your track racing. Funny how it comes full circle, Hamlin. Really funny that. This interview made you look like a fucking clown, Hamlin. Fucking idiot. Fucking nonsense. But then there was the fucking nonsense that some people were peddling online, saying that this race was a race of the year contender and it was one of the best Martinsville races ever. Were we even watching the same race? I got a news flash for you people, okay? This was not the race of the year. Okay, I don't know what kind of warped fucking reality that we've stumbled into here, but this was nowhere near the race of the year, okay? Let's be completely honest here. The first half of this race was fucking boring as shit. I was literally falling asleep in my chair with how fucking boring this race was. And then on top of that, the third stage of this race was messy as fuck. Cautions galore. I mean, how many cautions were in this fucking stage? There were 10 cautions in stage 3. Like, holy fucking shit. I realize that it's Martinsville, but Martinsville has actually been pretty clean in recent years. I mean, I remember one race back in the spring that only had 2 total caution flags if you don't count the stage breaks. And that might be, fun for some to see some carnage and cars being wrecked and all that other shit. But to me, caution flags, I mean, especially if they're in bulk like they were in stage 3, it just makes the race drag on. Which is why I was so confused when people were saying that back in 2015, when people were saying that the Southern 500 was the best race all year, and I was just sitting there like, huh? There were 15 caution flags in that race. The race lasted over 5 hours, even longer than the Coke 600. I mean, that kind of a grind is a good race to you? That many cautions, that many people spinning out and being involved in wrecks, that's a good race? Like, what the fuck? I mean, some of you people need to realize that there is more to a race than just the finish, okay? A lot of people nowadays just like to say, just look at the finish of a race and be like, oh, if it was a good finish or if it was a great finish, hey, race is 10 out of 10. No, people, that's not how this works. You have to take everything into account when you do a review like I do. You have to take everything into account, beginning, middle, and end, and everything that happens in between before you formulate what your final, opinion is. Or in my case, like I give a rating, how good a race was or how bad a race was. All of that, what a beginning, middle, and end is, and everything that happens in between, and sometimes before and after, that all ties into what my final rating for a race is. But people just seems to just forget A, B, and C and just go right to the finish and be like, if it was great, 10 out of 10. No, absolutely not. This race does not even deserve to be in the same conversation as the Bristol Night Race or the Indianapolis 500. And to try to convince me as much is fucking insulting, to be honest. Like, open your damn eyes, people. Now, was this a completely terrible race? No. I mean, when there were times when we had, racing, there was some good racing. Particularly in the third stage, even though there was a shit ton of caution flags. I mean, there was some racing that was actually pretty good, especially near the end. But let's be honest here. The first half of this race was dog shit. It was absolute dog shit. Like, it was not enjoyable viewing whatsoever. And it honestly just baffles my mind how people are calling this the race of the year when it was basically an average race at best. Like, you're telling me 13 goddamn caution flags constitutes a race of the year? Like, what the fuck are you smoking? Like, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I mean, it's like I keep saying before. You want to watch demolition derbies? Go watch a demolition derby. That type of shit does not belong in NASCAR. I'm sorry. I know it's short track racing, but I prefer to watch, you know, side-by-side racing rather than people getting wrecked. I'm sorry if that's my fucking personal preference. But anyways, I'm done ranting about everything. That's basically my thoughts on the big talking points from this race. So, let's go ahead and get into this review and get it done and over with, and then we'll just have one race to go in the Cup Series season, and that's the Phoenix Championship race. So let's go ahead and get into it. So obviously this was a 500 lap race. They just broke down 130, 130, and 240. Hamlin has to start from the rear of the field because he failed tech inspection twice, so he basically had to come from a long ways back. So stage 1, 130 laps. Kyle Larson once again starts from the pole due to the stupid ass formula that they use, which thankfully is going away. They're going back to practice and qualifying for next week's race, and hopefully that'll mean a return to practice and qualifying for next year now that we're kind of coming out of the pandemic era. That's the hope anyways. But Kyle Larson starts on the pole. One thing I noticed early in this race, that Larson had great short run speed. Like, that car took off. He got a great start and led lap 1. And about for 7th between Byron, Blaney, Bell, and Bowman, which was pretty good. Elliott gets by Truex for 2nd. Leaders were in heavy traffic by lap 40. Elliott gets by Larson in turn 3 in the midst of all the traffic for the race lead for a first pure lead change in lap 57. Chase Elliott was responsible for most of the pure lead changes in this race. Then we have our first caution on lap 61, which was the competition caution. Hopefully with practice next week we won't have a competition caution, because those are annoying as shit. I think they're really redundant. Everyone comes in for service. Larson wins the race off pit road, so he leads on the restart. Then we get our second caution on lap 72, when Daniel Suarez spins Ryan Newman in turn 4. There was a little bit, it was basically a 3 wide situation there, which doesn't really work at Martinsville. Michael McDowell received some left front damage in the incident. Larson leads on the restart, but Elliott pretty much caught him, and Larson was like, you know what, I'll just let you go. So that's our second pure lead change in lap 85. Ross Chastain has to pit for a loose wheel. There was a point where Ryan Blaney got ran into by Austin Dillon. At least that's what it looked like at first, but onboard, when you listen to the onboard, it sounded like Blaney had to lift off the throttle, or he brake checked him. We don't know what the deal was there, but basically he let off the throttle, because you can actually hear it, and Dillon basically ran into the back of him, which caused major right front damage to him and major left front damage to Blaney. So there was that. And Chase Elliott won stage number 1, so very uneventful first stage. But that was 10 very critical points that Chase Elliott picked up, which would be very important when we come to the end of stage 2, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So everyone comes in for service. Larson wins the race off pit road, but gets caught speeding. Ouch. He actually got caught speeding twice in this race. Didn't really matter though, because he was already through to the championship 4 anyways. I mean, he had 2 wins in this round, for God's sake, you know what I mean? But stage 2, 130 laps, Chase Elliott leads on the start of stage 2. Top 5 were actually within a second of each other for a while. Byron gets by Kyle Busch for 3rd. Newman has to pit for a tire rub, because he had some damage to the left rear. Excuse me. Kyle Busch and Keselowski fighting hard for the 5th position. Then we have our third caution on lap 197 when Austin Dillon blows a right front tire in turn 1 and smacks the wall. Probably from the damage that he received from the contact with Ryan Blaney. Probably cut into the tire. Everyone comes in for service, and Truex wins the race off pit road this time, so he leads on the restart. But Elliott powers around the outside and regains the lead for a third pure lead change on lap 205. Eric Jones and Joey Logano make a little bit of contact, but nothing too serious. Byron gets by Truex for second. Bowman gets by Kyle Busch for fourth. And Chase Elliott wins stage number 2. And with those 10 stage points, it allows him to clinch his championship 4 spot right there. Because he now has enough points on the cutoff line to automatically advance to the championship 4. So we now have 2 spots filled of the 4, Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. So 2 Hendrick Motorsports teammates. Who would be the other 2 that would join them? Well, there were basically 4 drivers competing for 2 spots. Hamlin pretty much had one of them, for all intents and purposes, locked up based on points, but that final spot, there were at one point there were 3 drivers within 2 points. And I'm talking about Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Truex. At one point they were within 2 points of each other. And I think in one point they were actually within 1 point of each other. Like, there were 2 of them that were tied, and then the other guy was 1 point behind. Like, that's insanity. But now we get to stage number 3, and this, we got through the first half of this race, which was pretty boring. Stage 3 was when it really got messy. Some of the racing did pick up, but man, the number of cautions in this stage was just disgusting, to say the least. So Kyle Busch was also caught speeding on pit road on the stage breaks, and Elliott leads the start of stage 3. Hamlin was up to 3rd at this point, and so was Eric Almirola. He was up into the top 5, which was a bit surprising. Hamlin gets by Bowman for 2nd, Justin Haley with left rear damage. Bowman and Byron start trying to fight back against Hamlin for 2nd and 3rd. Then we have our 4th caution on lap 309 when the 52 of Josh Bilicki spins in turn 3. The 7 of Corey LaJoie and the 34 of Michael McDowell are also involved. Elliott leads on the restarts. Hamlin actually misses a shift on the restart and is run into by Byron. But thankfully for both of them, not a whole lot of damage. We have our 5th caution on lap 323, again involving Josh Bilicki. This time he's the one who causes it. He gets loose in turn 3 and carries the 00 of Quinn Houff into the wall with him. Houff decides to retaliate and spins the 52 under yellow. Apparently this was in the vicinity of a safety truck, which really pissed off NASCAR, and they decided to penalize Quinn Houff 5 laps for this incident. I can understand if it was a 2-lap penalty, but 5 laps? Jesus Christ, NASCAR. I know your penalties can be kind of ridiculous at times, but good God Almighty, you went way over the cliff this time. This is a case of super overreaction. I know it was a safety issue, but 2 laps would have been more than enough. 5? That's just fucking stupid, okay? But then again, it's NASCAR officialdom. What the fuck else do you expect at this point? They're always fucking trash. That's just my opinion. So Elliott leads on the restart. Then we immediately get our 6th caution on that 349 when Cole Custer gets into Ryan Newman, who comes down to Ross Chastain. This is coming off turn 2, by the way. Turns both of them into the wall. 42 continues on and smacks the turn 3 wall, probably from a flat right rear or a flat right front, and then turns down and hits the 6 afterwards as he was coming by. So obviously he thinks that the 6 car did it, but it was actually Cole Custer in the 41. So still a lot of heated drivers after that one. Almost everyone comes in for service under this caution. Elliott wins the race off pit road. Logano stays out and leads on the restart. Larson at this point was back up to 4th on lap 348. Elliott manages to get underneath of Logano in turn 1 for the race lead for a 4th pure lead change on lap 351. Logano was creating a bit of a logjam in the 2nd position, and then he starts dropping back because he's on older tires. Then we saw that the 19 of Truex was starting to have an overheating issue as we saw water pushing out of the overflow pipe. And it's kind of like, oh shit, he's actually in a, he's in a spot to be in the championship 4. So it's like, uh-oh, could that engine blow at one point? Then we get our 7th caution on lap 358. Cat, get off of my notebook. Move. Come on, get off. Damn it. Seriously, Cat. Can't you see I'm doing something here? Shitties. Anyways, so 7th caution on lap 358 when Cole Custer spins in turn 4 after the 3 of Austin Dillon tags him. It's on the restart. Not much else happens here, at least for the moment. Then we get our 8th caution on lap 379. The 14 of Chase Briscoe gets into the back of Daniel Suarez and spins him out. Everyone comes in for service. Elliott wins the race off pit road. Larson gets caught speeding again at this point, as I mentioned earlier. The RCR cars of Dillon and Data Tyler Reddick stay out, as well as Cole Custer. So we have the top 3 cars staying out on this restart. So Austin Dillon leads on the restart. Truex takes the lead on the restart, though, as Hamlin follows him through to 2nd on the outside, by the way. But then Hamlin takes the lead from Truex for our 5th pure lead change on lap 389. Elliott gets by Logano for the 4th position. Then we have our 9th caution on lap 435 when Dillon loses another tire and hits the wall. So that's the 2nd one for him today. Hamlin leads on the restart. But then we get a big moment with our 10th caution on lap 454 when Keselowski spins Elliott in turn 3 as they were racing in the top 5. Fortunately for Elliott, he was already locked into the championship 4 at this point. But considering that he had led a lot of laps in this race and really wanted to repeat as winner of this race, yeah, probably not ideal that he got spun right there. So Hamlin leads on the restart once again. Then we got our 11th caution on lap 460 when Ricky Stenhouse spins in turn 4 and Bubba Wallace smashes into the back of Elliott, severely damaging the front of the 23 car. And at this point, it's like, Jesus Christ, this is just getting silly now with all these caution flags. So Hamlin leads on the restart. There was a rub on the 48 car as the cars 2nd through 5th were battling for position like really hard. And then Truex gets left front damage after going through it a couple times. Gets pushed up the track by Almirola, who got loose in turn 1. And then the one of Kurt Busch also kind of hit him, which put him into the backstretch wall. How this did not cut down a tire, I have no idea. But this actually puts Truex on the outside looking in the championship 4. But fortunately for him, we have our 12th caution on lap 472 when Ryan Preece cuts down a left rear tire. At first it looked like an engine, but it was actually a flat left rear. So Hamlin leads on the restart. Bowman and Hamlin were pushing and shoving for the race lead. This is the point where Bowman kind of shoved his way by to get the race lead on the restart, but then he let Hamlin back by because he didn't want to earn it that way. So we have our 6th pure lead change on lap 479. Kurt Busch was in 3rd and was trying desperately to hold on to 3rd as Bowman fights Hamlin for the lead. Truex manages to get by Kurt Busch and put himself in position to be in the championship 4. There was a lot of hard racing at this point. That's when the racing really got good. But then we got our 13th and final caution on lap 494. Of course, the aforementioned Bowman getting loose in turn 3 and spinning Hamlin out of the race lead, causing a lot of ruckus afterwards, which I've already talked about. And it definitely added a controversial spin to this whole thing. So we're going into overtime at this point. So Bowman leads the first green-white checker. Kyle Busch was actually on his outside, and he tried his damnedest to get to the outside of Bowman, but it wasn't meant to be. Alex Bowman wins the Xfinity 500 under controversial circumstances. And then coming to the line, Keselowski and Kyle Busch make contact. Kyle actually ended up finishing 2nd. Keselowski, clearly not happy with Kyle, spins him out in turn 1 after the checkered flag, which led to Kyle basically saying, I ought to beat the shit out of Keselowski. Of course, those two, there's no love lost between those two. And then afterwards, Hamlin was clearly not happy as he was, and he was interrupting the victory celebration, which I think is a big no-no. He spun you out, but wait till afterwards to confront him about it. Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, it just made you look like a hypocritical bitch afterwards. Which I've already discussed at the top of the review. So if you want to know my opinions on all that, just be prepared to have your ears bleeding. Because I basically erupted like a volcano at the beginning of this review. With how dumb some of this shit is. And that is the XFinity 500 at Martinsville. I mean, it was short track racing. You know, some people, you know, are huge fans of that. I mean, I am too, but I would rather have good, clean, you know, racing with some door slamming here and there, and not this wrecking each other bullshit like we've been seeing as of late. But that's just me. Alright, some race statistics. There were 15 overall lead changes in this race with 6 pure lead changes. A mind-numbing 13 caution flags, which I think is one of the highest number of caution flags that we've had this season. And only 1,722 green flag passes, which amounts to a 4.2 per lap average. So, passing was pretty much at a premium, but that's pretty much to be expected when it comes to Martinsville. So, race results for the XFinity 500. Alex Bowman with the win. Kyle Busch coming home in second, but does not make the championship 4. Neither does Brad Keselowski. Martin Truex Jr. comes home in 4th and does make the championship 4. And show you by how much. It wasn't much. William Byron coming home in 5th. Eric Almirola in 6th. Kurt Busch in 7th. Eric Jones 8th. Chris Buescher in 9th. Very quiet, Chris Buescher was. And Joey Logano rounds out the top 10, but he pretty much needed a win to get through. So, point standings. Larson, of course, through to the championship 4 on wins. Chase Elliott was through on points after the second stage, which left the other 2 spots up for grabs. Hamlin gets through on points. Actually, it turned out to be just 8 points, but he had a big enough cushion. Truex manages to get through on points by just 3. 3 lousy points. Allows Martin Truex Jr. to compete for his second championship. And Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano are all eliminated from the playoffs. All 3 Penske cars in one fell swoop. And Kyle Busch also eliminated from championship contention. Can't say he didn't give it his best shot, though, today, because they threw everything but the kitchen sink at that car to get it better, and they managed to runner-up finish. It just sucks that with how this championship format is, you know, it's not going to be enough to award him with a shot at the championship. Which means that your championship 4 is Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, or as I call him, Denny Whamlin, called the Whambulance, and Martin Truex Jr. Larson and Hamlin are going for their first championship. Truex and Chase are going for the second, and in fact Chase is trying to defend his championship. Nobody has ever defended their championship under the playoff format. Chase could be the first to do so. He is good at Phoenix, although he has not won an oval race since Phoenix last year, when he actually won both Martinsville and Phoenix. But he is good at Phoenix, though, so we'll have to wait and see if he's able to duplicate what he did last year and win back-to-back titles. Of course, for me, it's Larson or bust, because Larson's just been too good this year. If Larson does not win the championship, fuck this playoff format. It needs to be axed immediately. Because, I mean, I've been against this playoff format anyways from the get-go, and quite frankly, it doesn't need to exist. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. I picked a scab on my leg, and now I'm bleeding like a stuck pig. God damn it. But, all that aside, as for my final rating for this race, was this a terrible race? No, not really. I mean, the first half was pretty boring, and there were way too many caution flags. But, I mean, some of the shenanigans were actually pretty funny. And when there was racing, there was actually good racing. But, race of the year? No, absolutely not. It doesn't even deserve to be in the same conversation as other race of the year contenders like the Bristol Night Race and the Indianapolis 500. Absolutely not. So my final rating for this race, I will drop it in the middle, 5 on the fuel gauge. So nothing special. I mean, I know that's probably going to be very divisive because, you know, some people are like, well, this was the best Martinsville race ever. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. There were far better Martinsville races than this, so don't even come at me with that shit. Ain't all right, shitty. God, I swear, all the times you want attention. This cat. But, anywho, that is going to do it for tonight's review of the XFinity 500. It's hard to believe we are just one race away from the end of the season, and we're not that far away from the end of our 3rd season of the Fuel. Hard to believe that this show's been going for almost 3 years now. As my washer decides it wants to fucking rock and roll again. Piece of shit. But seeing as how my shitty wants to have some attention, I'm going to go ahead and sign off right here. Next week, we're going to find out who the 2021 champion is. Will Chase Elliott repeat, getting back-to-back titles? Will Truex win his 2nd title? Or will we have a brand new champion in Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson? Only one way to find out, and that's next week. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the Packerman signing out. See you next week for the championship finale. Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you rats!